This episode of TSP Moments is brought to you by Bloomfilter. The industry failure rate of software projects is now over 70%, and the folks at Bloomfilter want to fix that. Bloomfilter is a new app that brings unprecedented amounts of data for all your projects straight to your fingertips, giving you insight that until now has never been available in one single app. Bloomfilter's revolutionary new project platform dramatically improves communication, predictability, and efficiency across the software development lifecycle. Bloomfilter provides software teams complete visibility into their projects to drive consistent, valuable outcomes. Working hard just isn't enough anymore. You need to work smart as well, and Bloomfilter is how you do that. Head on over to bloomfilter.co, that's BLOOMFILTER.co to sign up and start changing the way you work today. All right, hello, and welcome to TSP Moments from the Thoughtful Software Podcast. My name is Jason Hoflick, and I work with Andrew and Fahad Shokhat on the podcast. So what is TSP Moments? Well, TSP Moments is both a look back to a recent episode of the Thoughtful Software Podcast, as well as a deeper dive into some of the subjects that may have been discussed during the episode. Today, we're taking a look back at episode 65, where Andrew and Fahad sat down with Chris Dix of the BBC and discussed how emerging tech is changing media and entertainment. During that episode, a very interesting discussion around deepfakes came up, and this is what we're going to focus on as well today. Before we listen in on the conversation, though, let's take a deeper dive into deepfakes themselves. So a deepfake is a video or a picture of someone that has been altered, usually via some sort of AI, to appear and look and even sound like someone else. There have been a few notable instances of deepfaking over the last few years. For example, according to the BBC in 2017, a research team from the University of Washington produced with near accuracy a video of former President Barack Obama speaking about the Affordable Care Act and other various topics. Now, the video was totally fake, with the AI being trained in that instance on everything from his mannerisms, his hand motions, his mouth movements, the inflection of his speech. It was actually quite impressive. More infamously, however, in 2018, the BBC also reported about an app simply called Fake App. Now, this app used machine learning and algorithms to create a detailed recreation of a person's face. This recreation could then replace the face of a person in a video or even a photo. Of course, the most common use for this app, unfortunately, was in making pornographic photos and videos, and celebrities being among the most targeted. What makes apps like Fake Apps so dangerous, however, is that since anyone could download the app, and I think it had something like near 100,000 downloads, that means the person next door to you could hypothetically be making videos or photos of anybody. Now, fortunately, the app has been shut down, but there are certainly other malicious apps still out there, and concerns for privacy, security, and safety still remain. Now, right away, the fact that technology like this even exists raises ethical concerns, and it would seem like technology such as deepfakes could only exist for malicious or insidious reasons. However, there are some positive uses for this technology as well, such as privacy and autonomy, something that the medical field can greatly use. This technology can also be useful even in the world of art. I saw an article from artnet.com where Russian researchers had used deepfaking technology to bring to life a 3D model of the Mona Lisa. And even more so than just art, deepfaking technology can be very useful to the world of entertainment. And this is exactly where our conversation picks up with Andrew Fahad and Chris Dix as they discuss why and how deepfaking technology can not only be useful to a hyper-personalized media and entertainment industry, but how it can be done ethically as well.
I think obviously over the last, I suppose it's sort of 5 to 10 years, things have sort of dramatically changed in terms of digital production, both in not just the sort of the video and audio space, but also even how we generate space content. I think we're starting to reassess the whole the end-to-end value chain. We're trying to understand how we get even more value out of our sort of production and distribution pipelines. I think we're talking a lot more about the value of metadata, the metadata that's generated from it, and how that can help innovate around things like new forms of consumption. We're seeing a lot around things like multimodal technology. We're seeing in the news, a lot of reporting around fake news and synthetic media. So I think there's a really good use case for things like synthetic media to provide certain scale and accessibility to content that probably wasn't as accessible before. So I think that's sort of generally what we're seeing, and we're seeing consumption methods change as well. So generally, audiences want to have the right to consume content in the way they want to consume it, and on the devices that they want to consume it on. So there's there's much more of a I think in the past you would effectively make an appointment to view content, the typical like on your TV or a cable guide like the EPG. You would typically make an appointment to view. I think it's now really moving from that, and it's taking content on demand.
So when you refer to synthetic media, you're referring to deepfakes and then the use of potentially deepfaking technology to actually make good use of deepfake technology. For the listeners who don't know, deepfakes are it's technology that uses AI and other techniques to basically create a very much likeness of somebody, and then throwing in audio, also using AI and other techniques to simulate their voice and everything. So it looks like the person is talking, it looks like them, and they can be extremely convincing. And occasionally state actors will use these to, do psyops and things like that. Are we referring to the same tech, or are you referring to something else?
No, we're referring to the same tech. I mean, we spend a lot of time making sure that if we were to use this type of technology in anything that we did, it's done in a responsible and ethical manner. So it's it's important to enable audiences to certify that the content is real, as such, as real as it can be. But it's also represented in the sort of within a set of guidelines. I think that if we're starting to get to that point of not just personalization, but hyper personalization of content, then you're going to need methods to dramatically scale more than we scale today. So it's going to have to be sort of context driven. It's going to be hyper personalized towards the things that you want to consume, where we may have a mix of content that's curated for you by humans, and then other mixed in with content that's curated using machine learning. So I think there's going to be a mix of that. So the use of that technology, there's lots of positives to using that technology if it's used responsibly and ethically. And I think some of the challenge is making sure that you find the right partners to work with to make sure that your responsibilities and ethical use of this is also backed by the technology suppliers that you're using in the same space.
Interesting. I think that when I think of legitimate uses of blockchain, besides selling JPEGs on the internet, the thing I'm most excited about is actually public ledgers that prove sources and prove legitimacy. And when I think about deepfakes being used in a positive way, which is something that I hadn't thought about ever, so you gave me a new rabbit hole to go down. Thank you for that. But now I'm thinking, how can you leverage a blockchain, a ledger, to go in and say, hey, I created this deepfake. This is a legitimate deepfake that we use to create content for you and all of our other contents on this blockchain to certify that this piece of content is legitimate. It's not, some state actor. This is true. This is verified. We put our stamp of approval on it. Do you think that that's something will happen, or do you think there's a different way to generate this public trust around this content, whether it's synthetic content or real content?
I think there's possibilities of sort of understanding the origin of the content. I think blockchain is one way of doing that. I suppose in the broadcast industry, there are other ways of signaling authenticity. We have in the past used things like watermarking in content, whether that's invisible watermarking as well, that can be picked up by players to sort of show how authentic the content is, where it originated from. Digital cinemas have been using it for years. So you can even certain origination technology there. You can if someone was to record like a feature film in a theater, you could play that back through decoders and understand which cinema screen it came through, at what time of the day it was recorded. So there's, there are a number of techniques. I quite like the blockchain approach, I must admit. I'm with you on that one. There are certainly ways in which we can leverage these technologies to show how authentic the content is. So to prove it's trustworthy, it's come from a trustworthy source. I think that's really important.
I absolutely agree, especially given the amount of distrust being bred in the media. And some of it's for good reason. Some of it's because of this exact, people photoshopping images. You go to like some subreddits and other sites on the internet, both on the both ends of the political spectrum. You can see where people are, posting, videos that are cut short. They're posting, photoshopped images that look real, and the inability to verify that information is causing people to, one, absorb fake news, but on the other side of it, also distrust legitimate media when it is being produced. And so I think it's one of the largest struggles of our time as the internet has become completely prolific and adopted by the majority of the world. Social media doesn't help with that and everything else, because fake news spreads faster than legitimate news, unfortunately, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, when we sort of do technology evaluation, I've worked with partners in the past, and you can create a really good synthetic voice of an actor or something with less than 30 minutes worth of content. So it's it could be used for a lot of good things to scale content, but equally, as on the flip side, we need to put guidelines and checks in place to ensure that we know the authenticity so we can trust it.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.